In this staggering economy, there's a growing number of young women who are turning to a controversial and risky way to earn extra cash. They are donating their eggs, and that's raising a number of ethical questions, not to mention concerns about their health and their safety. Well, we want to answer those questions for you this morning. Joining us is Nicole, who's a 23-year-old out-of-work actress on her way to becoming an egg donor. Also with us, Kathy Bernardo, who's the co-founder of the Northeast Assisted Fertility Group, and from Washington, D.C. this morning, Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel of the National Institutes of Health. Good to have you all with us. Nicole, lots of women will talk about this. Oh, I can make thousands of dollars in New York, as much as $10,000 if I sell my eggs. Sounds great. But the more they learn, they might get turned off. When did this actually become a serious decision for you?
This started becoming a serious decision for me when just kind of the fall of the economy started happening, and essentially me being part of woman in this economy, it hit me really, really hard. I have school debts and credit cards, and even living in New York is just one of the most expensive places to live. So when money started dwindling, I started doing a little bit of research on what I could be doing to, pick myself back up. And actually, I talked about it with one of my girlfriends, a good friend of mine, who had done it already 6 times previous. The maximum amount of times that you can do it as, in terms of donating your eggs. And she had nothing but great things to say about it, just the money that you earn, and that it just was not invasive, and it was great, that it was fine. So
this is a glowing review. You haven't actually donated your eggs yet. You're actually in the process. But Kathy, when we talk about this, it's not necessarily easy. I mean, it actually does put a woman's body through a number of different steps, some would say unnatural steps at this stage in their lives.
Well, right. I mean, there's definitely an increase in the number of people interested in egg donation, but most people aren't qualified. And of course, the economy has spurred people to be interested, but also it's an expensive undertaking for the recipients. And keep in mind that this is a treatment for infertility. It's not just about making money for women.
Which is such an important point, that it's not just about making money. And the criteria are very strict. The women have to be young, 21 to 30?
21 to 30, very educated, very healthy, very attractive, good medical family history. I toss out about 90% of the applications I receive.
That's a really high number, which helps put it in perspective, too, whether or not this is a viable option. Dr. Emanuel, when we're talking about this, though, as a way to make money, is this smart? Are you playing with your health? Donating eggs up to 6 times, I imagine that puts a real strain, especially if you want to have children later on.
Well, first of all, there's the ethical concern about doing something to a woman not for her benefit, and especially just in trade for money. And then, as you mentioned, there's the medical concern. The primary concern is what's called ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, and that's when fluid leaks out of the vessels. It causes pain, bloating, nausea, and occasionally it can be severe, causing failure of the kidneys and failure of the liver. And there have been even reported deaths. A study in the Netherlands showed between 6 and 10 out of 100,000 women had actually died. The real unfortunate fact is we don't have a lot of great data and studies of the long-term effects. What if you do it 6 times?
If a woman came to you and asked you whether or not you would advise her to do it, what would you say to her?
Well, I'm an oncologist, so I don't see that problem, but I do think it's you have to really
as a medical
look at these
professional,
risks.
yeah.
Yes, you have to look at the risks, and there's really no health benefit to the women. And that's, I think, the real concern.
One other thing I think is interesting that the doctor just said is that this is criticized often because it's not seen as a benefit for the women. It's seen as trading for money. I'll let you both weigh in on that quickly. Kathy, I'll start with you.
Hyper ovarian stimulation syndrome occurs in 1%, and I don't think it's necessarily for egg donors exclusively, but for all women who undergo IVF. And women who undergo IVF using their own eggs could do it 10 times and fail before they get to egg donation. So there's a lot of IVF going on. And egg donors are treated just like regular patients. They are not treated like, lab rats. They are treated like patients. And they're given insurance and the very best medical care. And they're really only on the stimulating drugs from 8 to 12 days.
Okay.
They're given a lot of medical screening, so they're in very good health.
Nicole, though, as you look forward and you hear some of the criticisms that there's no benefit to you, some people have said this is rich people exploiting women who need money. How do you respond to that?
Well, what I respond to is that, yes, the monetary benefit is exceptionally nice, but the gift of giving life to somebody else who is not able to do that and to have that experience is something that I take in very, very personally. And in terms of looking forward, or not looking forward, but, in researching everything I did, I spoke to my gynecologist and other gynecologists about it. And, you know, of course, there's always risk with doing this kind of procedure, and there's risks with doing a lot of different procedures, but in the long term, it's something, you know, I may be biologically connected to a child out in the world, but giving the gift of life to someone who wants to be a mother and a father is so much more rewarding in terms of that.
Well, it is something that we will continue to discuss, because obviously, especially in this economy, it can be in a lot of cases, someone would say lucrative. But again, always going to be some questions. So Cole, Kathy Bernardo, Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel, great to have all of you here this morning with your perspectives.